Okay, alright, so here I've got my template for my ball and shadow shape. So I'm going to go over that in a second, but for right now I just want to talk about building up our value scales from dark to light. Okay, so on my right it'll be the darkest, this will be my lightest, and I thought I would just make this video so if you guys wanted to see kind of how I approach it, that might be helpful. If not, you can skip over it. So I'm actually using my number 2 pencil. That's the darkest I'm going to get. I'm just going to use this. You can, the harder letters, the HB, and that is probably good for moving over to the lighter areas. But for the dark areas, I'm going to start up with my my 2B, and I'm going to actually just shade in evenly here. So the first value scale I'm doing is a set value scale, and the next one I'll do is a smooth transition value scale. So I always like to start with my darkest first, and then I jump over to my lightest, but in this case I'll probably jump over to this one. And again, it's just a five step. You could do a 12 step if you really want to drive yourself crazy, but the idea is that you're going from dark to light, and each square is going to show a very clear delineation between each value. So, and you want it to be just nice and neat, as neat as you can. And I'm sure you guys have done this a million times, but it never hurts to do it again. So you'll basically be setting up your drawing to be like this on your Bristol board. So I'm going to, in order to get this darker, I shaded this way. Now I'm going to shade this way and press a little bit harder, but I'm not pressing super heavy-handed. I want it to be not shiny in the end. So when you come in and you press really heavy-handed, you get a shiny reflective quality because of the graphite. With this, I'm trying to teach you guys how to layer everything. So layering means like a nice even pressure throughout, and then changing the direction of your shading. That's how you can build up nice, clean layers. Obviously, when you get to the edge, sometimes you have to change direction so it's not so sloppy. And I kind of go between being up and down to kind of shading it in circular form. So maybe now I'll go in the opposite direction and see if I can't build this up a bit darker. And again, don't just come in like super heavy-handed, because you're just going to end up with a very reflective surface. And just knowing that it's possible to not have that in your drawing is nice. Let's see if I go back over in the same direction I started. Does that darken it a little bit? Now, if you use a 6B pencil, it's going to be darker. The higher you go in the B's, so it starts with HB, and then the higher you go up with B, meaning bold, you get B, B, 2B, 3B, 4B. It goes all the way up to 9B. And that is the darkest and the softest lead. And then this direction, to the left, H is hard and also means light. So you get an H2 pencil, H3, H4. That all gets lighter as it goes higher up. I'm just choosing to use a 2B pencil for this assignment. Now I'm going to move to the next one. And again, I'm coming in very even. Now, to demonstrate what I'm talking about with the H's, I'll probably go in here with my H. So this is my H pencil. And I'm just going to do a very light shading. I'm using the same amount of pressure I was for this one. And notice how much lighter it is. I might come back in and do another layer on this one. Let's go back to this with my 2B. Same pressure, so much darker. It's a softer lead, right? And I want to make it as smooth as possible, so it's not scratchy. Okay, now I'm just going to clean that up a bit. Better in terms of light. Okay, so now you can see it a little bit better. So you can see that there's a little value in there in relationship to how white that is, okay? What I'm going to do here is probably come over and just darken it a little bit. It's just a bit too light. So again, I'm going to shade in the other direction. And again, I'm keeping it as smooth as possible. So you can see that even just coming in this other end, going in this other direction, it's already starting to get just slightly darker. You guys already did the hard part with the textures, so this should be fairly easy. Okay, again, I'm going to keep this very clean. I'm going to go back to my 2B, and I'm just going to try to make my middle tone here, okay? Now, I might have to come back in and darken this. I might have to come in and darken this. I'm not quite sure. This might be too big of a jump from dark to this light. Maybe this is my mid-tone. I'm not 100% sure. So everything is in relationship to everything else. So again, I'm just going to come in and very lightly with my 2B pencil. Shade this in. Now, these three are looking a little too close. I'm going to darken this one up a little bit, so maybe I'll shade in a different direction. And again, I'm not pressing super heavy. This is just a good exercise in terms of getting used to the pressure of your hand to the page, and so when you're actually drawing objects, you're kind of aware of what the material is doing and how to use it. So much of art is materials and getting to know them and how they work. Actually, that's half the battle. Okay. With this one, I'm just going to do another little very, very light So now you can see my stepped value scale. This one's a bit sloppy. It's really important to keep your shading as even as possible. Okay, well, pretty happy with that. So again, I can label them if I want. If I wanted to give them numbers so I know what they are. This would be value 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so this one is going to be a smooth transition value scale. So I don't need the lines in this one. I shouldn't have put them in. I'm not sure what I was thinking. So I'm going to take those out. And what I mean by smooth transition is it's going to go from dark to light, but without a clear delineation. It's going to be dark, and then it's going to be from dark to light. This one is probably the most important. I would do this one second once you get the feeling of the pressure you need to have from your pencil to the paper in order to get that dark, and then how many layers does it take, all that stuff. So I'm going to start from my dark end, and I'm going to go from dark to light. So, and again, I'm not pressing super hard. I'm just building up my values slowly. I'm using the same amount of pressure I used for this one, just with this one I had to do many layers, and I'll do the same thing here. So this is a good one to do first because it becomes your guiding force from getting from dark to light and following these midtones. And when they need to transition from smooth. Sorry, smooth transition from here to here, so there's not just a block. This one might take the longest. But what I can do is just bring this over, since it's a very similar value scale on this side. And I'll stop around here, so when I start to transition to this other one, maybe it'll be a bit easier to do the layering. So we're just basically learning to go from dark to light. I'm getting closer now to that value, aren't I? Notice how it's taking a lot longer to go from here to here. With this one, I just blocked it in and then I went over to this value. But now I'm trying to make it a smooth transition as possible so it's not blocky, because this is more related to real life and how we see things going from dark to light. So I'm spending a lot of time in here in this transitional area, because don't forget I've got to go to this area as well. And I'm going to have to lighten up quite a bit. And try to be patient with yourself and get these as smooth as possible. Okay, notice how from here to here I start to see this transition, but then it just flattens out right here. So that means I'm going to have to get darker over here. Now, I've got to make a very light light here. I'm not going to switch my pencils. I'm going to continue with the 2B. And I'm going to go really, really light with my as light as I possibly can. I'm going to bring this over into my white area because I want to show you guys a trick, possibly if it works out. So I'm really spending the bulk of my time, in essence, in the in-between areas from here to here. Okay, I think I've got a decent smooth transition. Now I'm going to take my kneaded eraser, this one that you guys all have. It's nice and soft, and if you knead it, that's why it's called kneaded eraser. If it's in your hands more, it gets kind of warmer and becomes easier to manipulate. But I'm moving this around, and I'm going to get it to like something like this, and then I'm going to flatten it out so it's nice and flat. And then I'm going to start it this way and just kind of lift out a little bit, and that way I have a better transition from dark to light. And notice it gets dirty, and that way it's a self-cleaning eraser. It's nice and dirty now, and then I can knead it and get it clean again, right? Okay, so it's nice because it can just, if you need to lighten an area because you got too dark, you can take it and then maybe just do a smooth rush over it here, and that'll lighten areas up. But we'll probably end up talking about that here with the ball. But see here now, you can see it's dirty. And then I just take that and I knead it to being clean. All right, that's the first part.